This is why you keep relapsing into porn, even when you don't want to. Even when you beat yourself up every time and you get that sinking feeling in your stomach, that shame, that guilt, that anger, that frustration. You've told yourself before that you were going to quit. You said this was the last time. And then the very next day, or maybe even the very next hour, you've gone back and relapsed again. And now you just feel shame. You start asking questions like, what's wrong with me? Am I broken? Why do I keep breaking my own word? You see, most men analyse the final few seconds before relapse, but the cycle often begins much earlier than that. Welcome back to the next episode of the Escaping Lust series. If you've just joined us, make sure to go back to the first episode, and if you've been with us from the start, make sure you've got your action step done from last episode, and let's get into it. In this episode, I'm going to explain something popularised by James Clear, which is the habit loop. And what the habit loop looks like is you receive a cue. From that cue, you get a craving. From the craving, you provide a response. And from that response, you get a reward. And this is how every single relapse into porn happens. You see, a cue, often known as a trigger, provides your brain with a familiar scenario. And that familiar scenario may be emotional, so it may be that you feel lonely, it may be that you feel stressed, or the trigger may be a certain place. So for example, when you're scrolling in bed at night, it's 11 p.m. and that's when you usually decide to open up that website and start to relapse. So the trigger can be emotional or physical. And what happens when we expose ourselves to this trigger is that we get a craving. Now, through years of conditioning, our brains have started to realize that pornography provides us with a quick release of dopamine. It's a quick escape to how we're feeling in the moment. So then our brains, once we've experienced this trigger, we start to crave what we've associated with that trigger, which is relapsing. The usual response that you've been going through is obviously to open up whatever website it is and to relapse. And thus you get your reward because in the moment it feels great. What happens once we complete this cycle is that the dopamine sensitivity levels in your brain, they drop. And oftentimes this is when you feel at your lowest. It's when you feel this crash of energy, it's guilt, the shame, and oftentimes it's why you can relapse multiple times in a night, because your brain is now looking for a way to bring it back to baseline. Make a note, there are some amazing books that you can read on this, such as Atomic Habits and also Dopamine Nation. They're really insightful books and they help me a lot in breaking away from this cycle. But understand this, at the response level, we are in control. As much as it doesn't seem like it, because you keep relapsing and you don't understand why, it's like something takes over in your brain. We ultimately do have control over what that response is. I'm going to teach you how we can make it super easy for ourselves so that we're not just trying to fight through it with willpower, because willpower will never win against something that's been conditioned into you for years. So when you next relapse, instead of beating yourself up about it and getting so angry at yourself and full of guilt, ask yourself what the cue was. What was the trigger? How was I feeling beforehand? Like, what's today been like? Has it been stressful at work? Did I have an argument with my partner? What was it that made me feel like I needed a quick release? What was that? Maybe it was both of these paired together. It was a stressful day and it was 11 p.m. and I was scrolling in bed on my phone. Then one thing led to another and all of a sudden I'm back on that website. So the action before continuing into the next episode is to think back on previous times where you've relapsed. Analyze what was going on. How were you feeling? What environment were you in? And then also after, how did you feel? Make sure that you write that down. It is super, super important. In the next episode, we're going to need it because we're going to build a practical system to escape this cycle. See you there.